Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to your AWS Cloud Computing Essentials. Uh, and I see people have already been waiting and they're asking when the class will start. So, yes, finally, we have begun. And I would like to introduce you to Vinolin ma'am here. She is an extremely, uh, exceptional trainer, I would like to say. She has been certified by AWS itself. So she's a certified AWS trainer. I think there's an echo, ma'am. Can you just mute for a second? Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. So yes, like I was saying, she's a certified AWS trainer, and you all are very, very, very lucky to to have a chance to learn essentials from her. And yes, so first of all, before we begin, I would just like to know all of you where all you are joining from, so that I get to know our audience also where it is coming from, how far widespread our reach is. So let me know where all you are joining from. And so I will tell you, I am joining from Nagpur, Maharashtra. All right. I'm joining from Nagpur in Maharashtra. And ma'am, where are you joining from?
Hi and hello from Chennai.
Yeah, ma'am is joining from Chennai. So guys, let me know where all you're joining from. Quick, please flood the chat with your answers. Okay, Ongul, Pune, Aligarh, Pune again. Wonderful. Uh-huh. Mumbai. Hosur again from Tamil Nadu, Mumbai. So I see a lot of old students also here. It's good to see you all again. Thank you for joining in from Satara, Telangana, Odisha, Lucknow, Chennai, Pune, Andhra, Bhopal, Pune, Andhra again, Jaipur. So yes, Aurangabad, Chennai, Kurnool, Dhanbad, Tamil Nadu, Vizag. Thank you all of you for this amazing response that you've given. And before I take any more of your time, I would just hand over the reins of this stream to Vinolin ma'am. Before that, I would just like to tell you to please mark your attendance every day. So there'll be two kinds of certificates. People were discussing in the chat about the certificates also. So there will be two kinds of certificates that we'll be giving out. Okay, first one will be the certificate of participation, and second one will be the certificate of completion. Now, to get both of these certificates, there are different separate criteria also. Okay, so for the certificate of participation, you will have to fill in the attendance form every day and submit the attendance form in time. And to get the completion certificate, you will have to finish all your assignments. You will have to submit all your assignments in the time frame that is given to you. Okay, the links of the attendance form are being given in the chat. Paridhi, she is your moderator for this batch, and she will be taking your doubts to ma'am. She will be also taking care of all the links that have to be given to you. So again, please remember two certificates, one for participation and one for completion. Participation based on attendance, completion based on submission and completion of assignments. All right. We have a special separate body, a separate team to check your submissions. And once that is done, if you are eligible, we will send out your certificates also. We have a separate convocation ceremony, e-convocation, virtual convocation that happens on YouTube, in which we send you your certificates and all. So that is going to happen. Certificates will be provided to you. All right. So please remember about submitting your attendance and your assignments as well. All right. So that is all the time that I have taken, and I have nothing more to say apart from all the best. Over to you, ma'am. Please carry on.
Thank you very much, Neha. So, yes, hi guys. Welcome you all to this program on AWS Essentials. I'm Vinolan Jeremiah. I'm an authorized instructor and I'm Solutions Architect Associate Certified and Developer Associate Certified and also Microsoft Admin Associate Certified and a Cisco Certified Network Associate, Microsoft Certified Solutions Associate as well. And I have completed my Master's in Wireless Communication from University of Southampton, UK, and currently a full-time corporate trainer and here with Let's Upgrade as well to lead young minds to learn about AWS and a lot more assisted technologies. And once again, I welcome you all to this program on AWS Essentials. Okay, so I've seen that overwhelming response on the chat box. So do keep texting on the chat box, make the session interactive. And when you have doubts, do put down your doubts in the chat box so that I can help you out with your doubts. Okay, so I think we're good to start. Okay, so let's move forward into our session now. I'm sharing my screen. Okay, so we are discussing about cloud computing essentials. Excuse me for a minute. I'm sharing my screen again. Okay, so we're here for cloud computing essentials. So, yes, welcome you all to this session where you're going to be kicking start your career in the AWS cloud. First of all, what is the reason for being here today? Cloud computing is such a buzzword in today's corporate world, where all corporate organizations look forward to move or migrate all their workloads into a cloud computing platform. Basically, there are a variety of reasons why organizations are trying to move all their workload into AWS cloud, okay, or basically into cloud computing platform. Okay, so when the organizations are moving into the cloud platform, they definitely have a huge opening, a huge set of openings that is available for young professionals in this particular domain, which is cloud computing. And without any doubt, definitely cloud computing is one of the top skills in demand in the corporate world. So here we are at LetsUpgrade, helping you or training you on all these technologies like the AWS, the cloud computing, to help you find yourself in a valid professional path. Okay, so we are helping you to connect your credentials, and definitely your next chapter begins here. So here we are going to be discussing, this is basically a 2-day session where we would be covering AWS essentials. We would start off by understanding all the basic concepts, and then we would move into the different services of AWS. Okay, and before that, these are basically on screen. You can see the different providers of cloud computing. AWS, the AWS cloud is Amazon Web Services. This is provided by Amazon. We have Azure, which is again a cloud platform provided by Microsoft. And then we have the Google Cloud platform, which is GCP, which is provided by Google. And the other cloud providers in the market are the VMware Cloud, we have the IBM Cloud, Alibaba Cloud, and a lot more cloud providers are available in the market. And on top of all that, we have the leading provider in the market, which is Amazon Web Services. And we would be explicitly covering the services and resources that Amazon Web Services has to offer us for our cloud computing needs. So let's quickly go through the agenda for this 2 days program on AWS Essentials. So today we would be understanding about the basics of cloud computing, and then we will discuss about the global infrastructure of AWS. I will also take you through the steps to create your own AWS free tier account. And this is very important because you need an account if you have to work with the platform. Okay, so I would be giving you or guiding you through the steps, and make sure you create your free tier account. And also, today we'll be discussing about EC2, which is basically a server. We'll also discuss about identity and access management, and also how effectively we can use the command line interface. And in tomorrow's session, which is day 2 of AWS Essentials, we would be discussing about the most important services or the foundational services of AWS, like the EC2, which is your Elastic Compute Cloud, okay, the instance storage, and then Route 53, VPC, which is your virtual private cloud, and also the concepts of CloudFront and simple storage service. And finally, we would be deploying an application on AWS. Okay, and this we'll be doing it on the platform called Elastic Beanstalk. As Sneha said, make sure you sign your attendance for both the days, and also if you sign your attendance, you are going to be eligible for the certificate of participation. And if you're going to be submitting the assignments that are provided to you, you will be eligible for the certificate of completion. Okay, so without much delay, let's get into the discussion for the session. Legacy systems and the need for cloud computing. So before cloud computing, all the resources are completely physical resources. So here in front of you are all the physical resources that you have in an infrastructure. If we talk about a storage, then we have all these portable storage like your hard disk, your SD cards, your pen drives, and a lot more. Okay, and then your servers, you have your laptops, your mobile phones, your desktops. Okay, and the servers that you have in your data center. Okay, and also the applications that you are using inside your servers or your laptops. So you are going to be purchasing those applications from the authorized providers. Okay, and when we talk about a large scale infrastructure, it is going to be a fully fledged physical infrastructure. Okay, so every single concept or every single element in the today's world or before the eventual incoming of your cloud computing, we have is a physical infrastructure. So be it a storage, be it a server, be it an application or a data center, okay, you have a physical environment. Now, what is the problem with a physical environment? Okay, so let's understand a use case where we would be able to understand the disadvantages of the physical system. Okay, first of all, probably all of you might have come across this, the scenario where you would have seen your trying to get your university results from your university website, right? So generally, okay, so when we talk about a website getting deployed on a server, you would not be doing it on a single server. You probably have like 10 servers or a particular number of servers inside the server pool on which you're deploying a particular website. In this case, let's say tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock, the results is going to be announced. Generally, on a day to day basis, the traffic to this particular website, that's your university website, would be very less. Okay, probably the people who are seeking admissions alone might be having a look at your website. But then on the day of your result, the entire set of students would be hitting this particular website. And this is going to be increasing the load on the servers. Okay, so we are talking about a physical environment. Now, what happens when the load on the server increases? The server will not be able to manage the load and it shuts down abruptly. Okay, and that is going to be affecting the performance of your website. Okay, so definitely you would have got a message that the server is not available. Okay, so this is what is happening in the background. Okay, the enormous traffic was literally overloading the server, and then the server has turned off, or it has been into a shutdown state. Okay, so this is a big problem that you face when you are using your physical infrastructure. How can you basically overcome the situation? Probably, let me give you a scenario. Excuse me. So here, okay, now the same university use case where I have, let's say, on a regular basis, I have 4 servers on which I have hosted my university website, okay, univ.com. Okay, all through the year, these 4 servers, we're just talking about a simple scenario. Okay, all through the year, these 4 servers can effectively handle the traffic to the website. But on the day of the result, okay, on the day of the result, you would definitely be expecting more traffic, probably like 10 times more or 100 times more than a regular traffic. In such a scenario, you would have to add more instances or more servers. We are talking about physical environment, right? More servers into the network so that your application can be made available without any disruption. Now, when you are doing this, when you have these extra resources added to the original server pool, these 2 resources will be utilized just on the day of the result alone. The remaining days of the year, this is going to be an idle resource. Yes or no? This is going to be completely a idle resource. Now, these resources, these servers, okay, let me tell you. So here we have 2 different concepts. One is over provisioning or under provisioning. What is over provisioning? What is under provisioning? Now, if you have to effectively handle all the requests throughout the year, irrespective of whether you have it as a result day or not, then your server fleet should be accommodating 6 servers. So here you are investing a lot on redundant resource, extra resources. Okay, this is what we call over provisioning. Or you might be, taking up the risk of just having 4 instances for your server fleet. And then when on this particular day, when you have your traffic to be manifold of your regular day's traffic, there are chances that your website would become completely unavailable. This is under provisioning. Okay, here you have the risk of compromising the performance of your application. Okay, so here you compromise the performance of your application. So there are 2 big problems. Either you have to compromise the performance of your application, or you make a heavy investment on idle resources. Okay, so this is the problem that you face when you are using a physical infrastructure. Okay, when you have a physical infrastructure, because if you have to provision these resources, okay, if let's say for example I just want to add 2 servers into the network, It definitely takes lots of planning, okay, months of planning, days for execution or weeks for execution. And to make a site live, it is going to be taking a lot of effort. Okay, so the entire process of provisioning the website and making it live is going to be time consuming. Okay, and that is also a disadvantage or that you feel or face when you're using your physical infrastructure. And here you will be using completely physical resources. So lots of things comes into place where you would have to think about your environmental provisioning, environment management, okay, and also your service, your all physical hardwares. They are all expensive. So the entire setup is comparatively very expensive. And when we have this peak traffic, as I told you on the day of your result, you have to anticipate the capacity requirements for such a short period of time. And then you would have to invest on redundant resources. And then, since you have the entire infrastructure under your control, monitoring and maintenance of your servers becomes very much challenging. And as I said, if we consider this particular scenario, most of the time throughout the year, these two servers will be staying idle. And only these four servers, they are managing your regular day's traffic. Okay, and also troubleshooting the problems can be tedious and many conflicts may arise with your business goals. Okay, so these are the disadvantages of or the problems that you face when you're using an on-premises infrastructure. Okay, now, so let's understand what is cloud computing. Cloud computing is a model for enabling convenient on demand network access to a shared pool of configurable computing resources, which includes your networks, servers, storage, applications, and services. Generally, all my trainees, the moment I ask them a question, what is cloud computing? People come up and say, cloud computing is a platform where you can store your data. The reason this answer pops up is generally, even without a knowledge, we are using the cloud computing storage on our day to day life. Let me give you some examples. You're using Google, basically your Gmail, your Google Drive, your OneDrive, your Dropbox. These are the popular cloud storages that you are using on a day to day basis. Okay, and that's what makes people think that cloud computing is all about storage. But cloud computing is definitely way more than just storage. If we think about what are the components that you can get on the cloud platform, literally any component that is there in your real time physical data center, you have it provisioned in the cloud computing platform as well. For example, your networks, your servers, your storage, you have your applications, and a wide variety of services that is made available to you on the cloud computing platform. So these two lines basically enabling convenient on demand network access to a shared pool of configurable computing resources. This is a very important definition as far as your cloud computing understanding is concerned. Okay, so it is very much convenient for you to provision and use the cloud computing resources. And these resources can be acquired on demand. When there is a demand, you can get access to a particular resource. And also, you are going to be accessing or getting access to a resource from a shared pool of resource. Okay, and also you have a complete you could say privilege for configuring your own resource. Okay, so this is what sums up what cloud computing is. So it's a model for enabling convenient on demand network access to a shared pool of computing resources, and it can be rapidly provisioned and released with minimal management effort. Okay, so with just few clicks, you will be able to provision your resources at a very faster pace. And it definitely provides you a very high level abstraction of computation and the storage model. So here are the 6 advantages of cloud computing. Stop guessing capacity. So here, let me quickly tell you one thing. Excuse me. I'm sharing my screen again. Okay, so here we have the advantages of cloud computing. Okay, so the first one is stop guessing the capacity. Now, in a physical environment, what was the problem that you faced? Either you had to over provision the resource and then spend extra investment on redundant resource, or you ended up under provisioning the resource and then you compromised on the performance. Okay, these are the things that happened in your physical environment, basically, right? Now, in the cloud computing environment, you need not guess the capacity requirements. You need not have any kind of anticipation, okay, regarding the capacity requirements. We know that it is going to be on demand resource allocation, okay? And we have a special feature which is called auto scaling. Okay, auto scaling is a feature which helps you to grow your resources or shrink your resources based on the varying traffic patterns. So when the resource traffic, or basically when the traffic goes high, your resources can be increased. The number of resources can be increased. And when your traffic goes low, your resources can be released back into the shared pool. In such a manner, you will be able to completely stop guessing capacity because your infrastructure becomes very much adaptive using this feature called auto scaling. The next one is increased speed and agility. Probably, if you have to provision a website, if you have to make a website live in a physical infrastructure, you probably take months of planning and weeks for execution. Whereas in a cloud computing platform, you will be able to provision servers of a particular configuration at ease in a very short duration of time. It's just probably few clicks and a matter of few minutes, you have a server or an infrastructure in hand. So it definitely increases the speed and agility with which you can develop and deploy your architecture on the cloud computing platform. Now, you are saving a lot of time here, right? In rather than investing all your time on provisioning and managing the resources, you can spend the time on concentrating on business differentiators. You can always think about, expanding your business in another side. Okay, so you will be able to concentrate or focus on the business differentiators. And then we definitely have this variable versus capital expense. Okay, now if you're going to be thinking about the cloud computing platform, so there it is going to be a variable expense where you simply pay for what you use. We call it pay as you go. Okay, it is a pay as you go basis. Okay, so here when it is a physical infrastructure, you will have to invest on the real time infrastructure. Okay, managing the environment provisioning, environment management, and then your housekeeping, your air conditioning, your electricity. So many things comes in, right? So this all concentrates, or this all adds to your capital expense. Okay, then going global in minutes. Basically, we have think about setting up a global footprint for your organization. When you think about a physical infrastructure, this seems to be an impossible task to set up your office space in every country across the globe. But then with cloud computing platform, you will be able to have a customer base across any part of the globe. Okay. And also you put your data, you put your servers, you put your resources on the cloud, and they are become accessible to you from any part of the world. So it supports going global in minutes. Okay, so these are the important advantages of cloud computing. Any questions at this point, guys? I'm quickly checking the chat box. If you have any questions, do let me know. Yes, good evening, guys. Okay, I'm reading the chat. Yes, in between, I stopped the screen share, guys. Yes, I'm checking the chat box now. I would give you time for putting your questions in the chat box because I cannot be checking the chat box simultaneously. Okay, make sure you fill up your topic of AI. So, no, this is nothing related with artificial intelligence. We are covering AWS, which is Amazon Web Services. Assignments, we would be publishing the assignments during the session. I would be giving you details about what has to be submitted for the assignment, and you will have to finish it. And then the link for submission will also be shared to you. Please make your submission on time to get eligible for your certificate of completion. Yes, you will definitely get a certificate. So if you submit your assignments promptly, you will definitely get a certificate of completion. In between, I only stopped the screen share, guys. Okay. Server meaning please, no problem. Auto scaling again. Okay. So basically, server is nothing but see. You have a laptop here. Okay. If you just install a server operating system, okay, then it becomes a server. Okay, it has a particular set of configurations to support being a server. Server is something that you are going to be using for managing all your clients. Okay, it has certain specific features. Okay, so in this particular case, a physical, we would be calling it as an EC2 instance once we move into the AWS cloud computing. So your instance, your EC2 instance is a virtual server in the AWS cloud. Okay, and this is, you could say it's like your real-time physical machine. Okay, like your computer. Okay, where you would be able to host your website. Okay, or maybe you want to host your database, you want to host your application. So anything and everything that you can do using a physical server, you will be able to do that on a virtual server as well. Okay, so that's about the server. And then auto scaling. Auto scaling is a feature using which your resources, let's say I have 4 resources now. Okay. We would come back into auto scaling eventually, but then since the question has come up, auto scaling, let's say I have 4 servers. Okay, let's say I have 3 servers. Okay, now this is starting from 10 a.m. and then to 12 p.m. Okay, there has been 3 servers. At 12 p.m., okay, the traffic was very high, and then a new instance has to be provisioned. So this is auto scaling. Automatically, a new instance will be provisioned into the network. Okay, so this is auto scaling. Now, let's say this is at 12 p.m., you have 4 instances. Then at 3 p.m. again, the traffic has gone down, so you don't need this instance. Automatically, this will be released into the shared pool. Okay, this is shrinking of your resource. So either you scale up or you scale down the resources based on the traffic. Okay, this is the auto scaling process. Is Linux, Chaitanya has asked a question, is Linux compulsory for AWS dev or architect? Not necessarily, but then if you have a good understanding of Linux, it would be a plus. Okay, yes. Is the EC2 instances scaled automatically? Auto scaling is something that you will have to set up initially, but then once you set up the auto scaling environment, okay, you will, once you set up auto scaling, it'll be able to automatically scale up the resources. I think I have explained this over provisioning and under provisioning. Yes, EC2 instances. Is there any snapshots available for the instance? Why do you need a snapshot, Abhishek? Basically, if you have created your own instance, then you can always create a snapshot for your instance. You can always create a snapshot for your instance. Okay. Any free website is available, as in like you have a free tier account. Okay, you can create a AWS free tier account where you can practice or use all the AWS services for free for a period of one year, that is 12 months, and I would be explaining you the features as well. Yes, we would be discussing about virtual private cloud in our session. AWS, a hosting platform. It's not just storage, guys. It's definitely a platform where you would be able to use for all your needs, like your server needs, your storage needs, your application service needs. Whether you need a platform as a service or a software, infrastructure as a service, we'll be discussing about the different service models. You would be able to get all the service models on AWS. Um, Okay, so yes, you're a finance person. How this AWS cloud computing is useful in your profession? You can always basically many of the applications that are used in banking or a finance sector, they would be hosted on a platform as a service or a software as a service primarily. Okay, so probably if you are looking at from the management perspective, then you can always suggest using the cloud computing platform for getting your software needs satisfied. Okay, so it can definitely help you with thinking about the trade-offs for setting up your business applications. Okay, I think we can move forward with our session now. Okay, I'll give you time for the questions again. Now, understanding business expenses. So here we have the economies of scale. Okay, so generally what happens is, let's say if you're going to be printing a t-shirt, okay, maybe you want to have a customized t-shirt, okay, let's say you want it with your company name, okay, and your name together or something like that. Okay, if you are going to be getting a customized t-shirt in a span of, let's say, 1,000 orders, okay, in such a case, the amount of effort that has to be put from the designer's end is going to be the same. Okay, whether you order a single t-shirt or whether you order 1,000 t-shirts, the effort is going to be same. Probably when you're printing 1,000 t-shirts, the time it takes to print these 1,000 t-shirts might be different, but the initial setup is literally the same. Okay, so when you are ordering a single t-shirt, it is going to be comparatively expensive, whereas you will be able to achieve a price reduction when you start using, or when you go in for ordering in a large scale. Okay, and this is what we go in for calling as economies of scale. So cost advantages companies experience when production becomes more efficient, and a business's size and achieving an economy of scale is very important. Internal economies are caused by factors within a single company, and external factors affect the entire industry. Okay, so that is about the economies of scale. Now, creating your free tier AWS account. Let me show you how you can go into, just search for AWS free tier account. Okay, start with a free tier account. Okay, you can create your free account here. Okay, you can create, just click on this, you would be able to go or navigate to the next page. Okay, so you can probably, it's just the way it looks is different, but then just click on create an AWS account. In the next window, you will be prompted to enter your personal details like your email address, give a password that you wish to use for logging into your account, and also your AWS account name, and move forward. You can create a personal account. Okay, since it's for your personal use, make sure you create a personal account. Give your name, your address, city, and then postal code, phone number. Sometimes you might get some kind of verification. Earlier, we used to have a phone verification. So just give your valid phone number as well, and make sure you give the verification and also sign up the customer agreement, and then move forward. In the next window, you will be prompted to enter your payment information. Here, you are supposed to give your credit card or your debit card details. And basically, what happens here is you will be debited with rupees 2, no more than that. Okay, and you will definitely have to have a Visa card or a MasterCard. Okay, so make sure you have a Visa card or a MasterCard. It can be a credit or a debit card, but then your account will be just debited with rupees 2. And then give all your user information, your payment details. PAN card detail, not necessary. Then select a support plan. Since we're going to be using a free tier account, it's a personal account. So make sure you go ahead with the basic plan, which is free. Okay. And once you give that, you will have the screen where you can see this option that says complete sign up. When you click on complete sign up, there would be two questions that pops up here. Okay, there you can select your role, and like you are what type of engineer, maybe a solutions architect, or however you want to move forward in your career. You can select that, and then what is the purpose or what is the domain that you're going to be working on when you're using your AWS platform. So select like DevOps, machine learning. There are so many options that would prop up. You can always select anything of your choice and then move forward with complete sign up. So once you click on complete sign up, you will be taken to your AWS management console. Okay, so this is basically the AWS management console. Okay, and these are the different services that are offered by AWS. Okay, so we have the compute. These are the different domains. We have the compute domain, we have the developer tools, machine learning, cost management, containers. These are the different domains. And then we do have all these services under each of these domains. If we talk about the compute domain, we have EC2 service, which is a virtual server in the cloud. We have Lightsail, which you can use for launching and managing virtual private service. And then Lambda, when you want to run code without thinking about servers, and you have so many other services under each of these domains. So if we think about security, okay, security, identity, and compliance, we have identity and access management, which can be used to manage access to the AWS resources. We have resource access manager, using which you will be able to share AWS resources with their accounts or AWS organizations. And then we have guard duty, which can be used for intelligent threat detection to protect your AWS accounts and workloads. So these are the wide variety of services that are available on the AWS platform. Okay, and here these are the regions, and I would be telling you what regions and availability zones are shortly. Okay, so now this is about your free tier account. And do you guys have any question in creating a free tier account? Is anyone trying to create a free tier account along with me now? Not necessarily, Ashik. To learn cloud computing, it is definitely not necessary for you to be a developer, or you don't need any kind of coding language. Okay. Okay. I think all the questions are caught up. So let's continue with the session. Now, let's move forward with the deployment models. Deployment models, we have four different deployment models: the public cloud, private cloud, community cloud, and hybrid cloud. Now, let's understand what these are. Okay, so in deployment models, we have community cloud and then the hybrid cloud. What is this public cloud and a private cloud? We know that cloud computing is all about having shared pool of resources, right? These are completely a set of shared pool of resources. Now, depending upon how the resources are getting shared, we have these deployment models. Let's say LetsUpgrade has its private cloud. Okay, so this is LetsUpgrade's private cloud. Okay, and it has a particular number of servers and a particular amount of storage, and then it has some database servers and so on. Okay, now we have let's say a company called ABC, and this particular company has a particular number of server, storage, database, and a lot more. Now, so this is going to be the private cloud for the company ABC. When I say private, it is understandable, right? It is going to be a private resource that is owned by someone. So LetsUpgrade's private cloud will be a resource or a region, or basically a platform that is owned by LetsUpgrade, right? So here, if it is going to be, let's say there are like 1,000 servers, and all these 1,000 servers have been used, okay, and the people who belong to this LetsUpgrade team want to have more servers. In that case, okay, they will not be, let's say they would be, again, they would have to request for a resource within their network. If at all, let's say they have used all the 1,000 servers, but then the ABC company, they have all the 1,000 servers unused. It is not possible for the people from the LetsUpgrade community to get access to the server that is hosted on the ABC private cloud. Okay, because this is a private cloud, and people who belong to this private community alone can have access to the resources inside the private cloud. Now, on the other hand, what is public cloud? In case of public cloud, let's say we have a user in North California, okay, or North Virginia. Okay, we have a user in North Virginia, and he wants to get assigned with a server. Okay, this is going to be a shared pool. And then there is another user in India who wants to get access to a server. Again, he gets allocated with a server from the shared pool. There is a user in Sydney who wants to have access to the server. And then again, he gets access to it from the shared pool. This is a public cloud where the shared pool of resources can be equally accessed by anyone across the globe, whereas the resources that belongs to a private community can be accessed only by the people who belong to this particular private cloud, or but this particular organization. This is the basic difference between a private cloud and a public cloud. Okay, so then what is this community cloud? Community cloud is one where you have two or more people. Let's say there are three companies which is planning to collaborate on a new project. Okay, in such a case, they will have lots of common files and folders or data that they want to share with each other for this particular project. In that case, they have a shared data center. Okay, so this could be ABC, DEF, okay, and HIJ, whatever. Okay, so here these are three different organizations, okay, and they want to collaborate on a particular project. So what they do is they are going to be putting all the files and folders inside this data center, and then the people who belong to this community alone can have access to the data that has been shared in the shared data center. Okay, so this is also a type of private cloud, but then it is going to be involving a set of or groups of people, or companies or organizations that wants to collaborate on a single project. Though it is a shared data center, individual organizations, if ABC, let's say ABC is sharing a data in the shared data center, ABC has the privilege to set the permissions for the other members in the community. Maybe ABC want this particular file to be read only for DEF, and then to be read and write for HIJ, and so on. Okay, so similarly, you will be able to set granular access permissions, though it is a shared data center. This is the concept of community cloud. Then we have the hybrid cloud. When we talk about the hybrid cloud, it is a combination of public and private cloud. Okay, so why do you need a combination of public and private cloud? The private cloud resources are comparatively expensive than your public cloud resources. Okay, and every organization might be having critical information. Maybe if we talk about the R&D, so all these informations can be put inside the private cloud resource where you would be able to implement more layers of security, and then something like your payroll processing. Okay, so such payroll processing can be moved into the public cloud. Okay, so because you just need some amount of compute space. Okay, so definitely public cloud is also secure, but then when you're using a private cloud environment, you will be able to implement more layers of security. Okay, so you can go in for using a combination of public and the private cloud, and this is what you call by hybrid cloud. Okay, so that's about the deployment model. So now let's understand this. So the characteristics of public cloud. A public cloud is a publicly accessible cloud environment owned by a third-party cloud provider. The IT resources on public clouds are provisioned as per the service models. We would be discussing about the service model shortly. The cloud provider creates and manages public cloud and its IT resources. Characteristics of the private cloud. It is going to be owned by a single organization and centralizing access to the IT resources from different parts, locations, or departments of an organization. And the actual administration is going to be carried out by the internal or the outsourced staff. The same organization is technically both the cloud consumer and the cloud provider. To understand what is a cloud provider, it's basically an organizational department that assumes a responsibility for provisioning the resources in the cloud. That's going to be your cloud provider role. And then cloud consumer is going to be departments requiring access to the private cloud. Okay, so this is basically when in terms of your private cloud, the cloud provider role and the cloud consumer role is assumed by the organization itself. And it could be on premises and also cloud based resources. Then, characteristics of a hybrid cloud. A hybrid cloud is a cloud environment comprised of two or more different cloud deployment models. You will be able to deploy your sensitive data to a private cloud, and then less sensitive data can be moved to a public cloud. Characteristics of community cloud. It is very much similar to your private cloud, but then access is going to be limited to a specific community of cloud consumers. And it is going to be jointly owned by the community members or by a third party cloud provider. The member cloud consumers are responsible for defining and evolving the community cloud. The membership in the community does not necessarily guarantee access to or control of all the cloud IT resources. And parties outside the community are generally not granted unless allowed by the community, they don't have access. Okay, so these are the characteristics of the community cloud. I hope everybody is clear with all the different deployment models, namely your public cloud, private cloud, community cloud, and the hybrid cloud. Now, let's move into understanding the service models. These are the different service models that are available. So these are basically the different layers of an architecture. Okay, so we have the application, we have the data, These three together, your runtime, your middleware, and the operating system, these three together, they constitute the platform. We have the virtualization, servers, storage, networking. Okay, so all these are the different layers or stacks. Okay, basically, which is going to be making up your infrastructure. Now, depending upon what is under your control, what is under the customer's control, and what is being provisioned and managed by the provider, we are going to be having different service models. Okay, so here we have three different service models, which is infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. Okay, in case of infrastructure as a service, the virtual servers, I mean the virtual resources like the virtualization, your server, storage, and networking, all these will be provided by the provider. And any component or a layer or a stack that is provided by the provider will be managed by the provider itself. Okay, and in case of infrastructure as a service, the operating system, which is basically your operating system, middleware, and the runtime, which is going to be constituting the platform. So the platform, data, and the application, it is going to be under the control of the user or the customer. Okay, so this is the infrastructure as a service. And a very popular example for infrastructure as a service is AWS itself. AWS is a popular provider of infrastructure as a service. Next, we have platform as a service. What is this platform as a service? There would be scenarios where, let's consider a scenario where you are an organization which has a very good workforce of developers. Okay, and your developers can develop any complex applications. And now your organization wants to move or migrate into the cloud platform. And your organization wants to deploy your website in a cloud computing platform. In such a case, your developers simply need a platform where they can deploy their code to build the application in the cloud. And in such scenarios, you can go in for using this platform as a service model. Okay, where you get the platform provided to you. And let me give you an example, which is Elastic Beanstalk. Okay, Elastic Beanstalk is a platform as a service which is offered by AWS. Okay, and you would be simply able to deploy your application on Elastic Beanstalk, and you will be able to build your applications or make your applications run in the AWS cloud. Okay, so that's about the platform as a service. And then software as a service. So let's take a banking application. Okay, so generally, when you are from a finance or an accounts background, if you are going to be training the entire set of employees on what is networking, storage, server, virtualization, platform, applications, these would be very new terms for the people from a finance or an accounting background. And if you have to train the entire banking workforce on all these technical concepts, it would be taking months for the exact training to be done, which is actually not needed. At the end of the day, a person from a finance sector, let's say a banking application, maybe you're working for a bank and then there is a new application that's been launched, and the banking employee has to know how to navigate through the application. Okay, if there is a particular activity that has to be accomplished, he just needs to know how to go or how to reach this particular action to be completed. Okay, so exactly what is needed is just the navigation idea. Okay, in such a case, you can go in for getting the software as a service, you can get the end application, and then you would be able to deliver training for using this application. This is software as a service. You get the end product from the provider, and it is going to be managed by the provider. And for any issues, you will be getting in touch with the provider because they are going to be managing your underlying application. Okay, and a popular example, like all your applications, all your softwares that you get, okay, like Office 365 and all the softwares that you get, they are software as a service. Okay, so that was a quick summary of all the three service models. Now let's understand the features and the use cases for each of these service models. So, infrastructure as a service is the capability provided to the customer to provision processing, storage, networks, and other fundamental computing resources where the consumer is able to deploy and run the software, which includes the OS and applications. The consumer does not manage or control the underlying cloud infrastructure, but has complete control over the operating system, storage, and deployed applications, and limited control of select networking components. The characteristics of infrastructure as a services: resources will be available as a service. The cost for these resources varies depending on the consumption, and these services are highly scalable. And when you're using infrastructure as a service, you have complete control of the infrastructure. This is highly dynamic and flexible service model. And when can you prefer to use infrastructure as a service? Let's say you're a startup or a small company where you have a less capital cost for hardware and software, or for large organizations when you want to have complete control over their application and infrastructures, or for rapidly growing companies, you don't have to commit to a specific hardware or software as your needs change and evolve. And also in scenarios where you have ambiguity in demands for a new application. Okay, in such use cases, prefer to use an infrastructure as a service. So, what are the advantages of infrastructure as a service? This is the most flexible and scalable cloud computing model where you will be able to enjoy automated deployment of storage, networking, servers, and processing power. It gives clients complete control of their infrastructure. Hardware or resources can be purchased as and when you need them. So basically, on demand resources, right? Next, let's understand platform as a service. It's basically the capability provided to the consumer to deploy onto the cloud infrastructure, consumer created or acquired applications, which is created using programming languages, libraries, services, and tools supported by the provider. Also, the consumer does not manage or control over the underlying cloud infrastructure, including network, servers, operating system, storage. But then he has complete control over the deployed applications, possibly the configuration settings for the application hosting environment. And these are the characteristics. So it's going to be completely built on virtualization technology, and you would be able to easily scale up or down your resources. And you can use this environment when you want to assist with the development, testing, and the deployment of your applications. And it is possible to support numerous users to access the same development application. And web services and databases are integrated together when you're using your platform as a service. So, what are the advantages of platform as a service? It makes development and deployment of apps simple and cost effective. It provides you with a highly scalable environment and highly available as well. Okay, and it is going to be completely reducing the amount of coding that is involved in building your architecture. And also, it allows easy migration to the hybrid model. Here, this particular word, the hybrid model, refers to having your infrastructure partly in cloud and partly on premises. Okay, this is a hybrid model infrastructure. Okay, where you have part of your workload in the cloud and part of your workload is running in your on premises data center as well. So, this is what we call a hybrid model. And when can you use your platform as a service? When you want to have flexible platform to accommodate multiple developers who are working on the same development project, or you want to create your own customized applications, and when you want to reduce the cost for rapidly developing or deploying an application. So these are the examples of platform as a service. As I told you, we have AWS Elastic Beanstalk, Windows Azure, Google App Engine, Apache Stratos, and OpenShift. These are the popular platform as a service models that are available. Now, what is software as a service? It is basically the capability provided to the consumer to use the provider's application running on a cloud infrastructure. The applications are accessible from various client devices through either a thin client interface like a web browser or a program interface. Also, the consumer does not manage or control over the underlying cloud infrastructure, including the network, server, operating system, and the storage. The characteristics include it is going to be managed from a central location, which is under the control of the provider, and it is going to be hosted on a remote server, and the consumer is going to be accessing this application over the internet. And the users or the customers are not responsible for the hardware and software updates. And you can prefer to use a software as a service if you're a startup or a small company that needs to launch e-commerce quickly and don't have time for the server issues of software. Or for short-term projects that require collaboration. Or if you are going to be using your application that aren't in demand very often, like a tax software, in such a case also you can prefer to use a software as a service. Okay, and in scenarios where you want to have a separate set of application to be launched in case of a web and mobile access, in such case, you can always go in for using software as a service. So these are the popular examples of software as a service. We have Google Apps, Dropbox, Salesforce, GoToMeeting. Okay, yes. And it's time for questions, guys, before we move forward. So if you have any questions in the service models, you can let me know. Thank you, Gitika. Mamta, what is your question, Mamta? Guys, you will definitely get a certificate for this session. Okay, there are 2 certificates that you would be getting at the end of the session. It's a 2-day program on AWS Essentials. We would be giving out AWS Essentials participation certificate if you have filled up your attendance for today and tomorrow. Okay, and then you will be eligible for the certificate of completion for the AWS Essential program if you submit your assignments that are provided to you at the end of this session. You will have to make your assignment submission on the right link that is provided, and you will be able to get eligible for the certificate of completion. Okay, so you definitely get certificates of after this program. So make sure you stay in touch and you complete all the assignments on time. Okay. Okay, only when you have an identity and access management users created within your account, you can log in as a IAM user. Not necessary. Who's asked this question? Pradeep Kumar, not necessary. Sorry, Karthik, right? Coding is not required. Okay. to learn AWS? Mamta, I can see only. Can you please answer? But then I'm not able to see your question. Please put it down in the chat box again. Thank you, Gitika. Okay, multi-cloud, we would definitely cover in another session, Pradeep Kumar. Probably tomorrow's session. I still have a bit of stuff to be covered for the today's schedule. And tomorrow's session, probably I can give you some details about the multi-cloud environment as well. So generally, organizations prefer using a multi-cloud environment because they have a wide variety of applications and project needs. And depending upon that, organizations prefer to use a multi-cloud platform. Okay, so it's like you have a combination of different cloud providers. Okay, we would definitely come back into a discussion for this topic. What are the important services for DevOps? We have different DevOps tools on AWS, like code commit, deploy. So the entire CI/CD pipeline will be you will be able to implement on AWS. What is this any role? Jinendra Patil. Does AWS have any role in on-premises services or it up to the organization itself? It'll be very nice if you could reframe this question. Karthik, definitely you don't need coding to understand AWS. What do you mean by deployment models? It's basically how you are going to be getting access to your resources, okay, and how you're going to be managing the permissions for the resource. Yes, we would be discussing about hosting an application on AWS. Okay. So now let's move. I guess my screen is shared. Yes. See, we have, I get this question again and again. We have different services. See, it entirely depends upon if you talk about containerization. Containerization is again DevOps. So we have ECS with Fargate. We have EKS support on AWS. Okay, we have tools like Code Commit, Code Deploy. Okay, and then you can go in for using even a fully serverless application can be built. So whatever your requirements are, like containerization, or you want to have a centralized version control system like Git or GitHub, the integration is possible into AWS as well. So be it your version control system, be it like Jenkins, where you have your CI/CD pipeline to be built. So the same CI/CD pipeline can be built on the AWS as well using all the DevOps tools. Okay, so whatever your DevOps requirements are, you would be able to implement it on the AWS platform. Okay, definitely, Subramani, you can definitely learn AWS, even though you are from a mechanical background. Think about, you can always learn AWS cloud platform, and then you can use it for developing. Let's say you want to create something like a machine learning application for your mechanical engineering. Okay, you can always do that, or you can create a simulation on the cloud computing platform. Think about it in that way. Yep. Yes. Okay, so let's move forward. Global infrastructure of AWS. So it is very important for you to understand the global infrastructure of AWS. The global infrastructure of AWS basically comprises of regions, availability zones, and data centers. Okay, so here, let's say I have a region. Okay, basically we have 25 regions across the globe where AWS provides us with services and 81 availability zone. Throughout this training, I would be terming the availability zone as AZ. AZ means availability zone. Let me show you where you can get the most updated information regarding the global infrastructure. Okay, this is the global infrastructure of AWS, and this page always gives you the most updated details regarding the regions and the availability zones. Okay, so you have 25 launch regions and 81 availability zones as on date. So here, this is the global infrastructure map. And then here you would be able to see what is the region and what are the number of availability zones. So before we go in here, let's understand what is a region and what is an availability zone. So as I told you, you have 25 different regions and 81 availability zone. And North Virginia is one of the region. I'm taking this for our demonstration. Okay, so let's say North Virginia, and then here you will have the region North Virginia having multiple availability zones, AZ1, AZ2, and AZ3. Okay, so here when you have all these availability zones, how these are placed, it's basically based on seismic survey. Okay, we have seismic survey that is done before setting up your availability zones. Okay, so your seismic survey, and then you find out the seismic layers. Okay, and based on the seismic layers, you ensure, or AWS has ensured that the different AZs fall under different seismic layers so that no two AZ can have a disaster at the same point of time. Okay, so here this is going to be a geographical, we could say a space, okay, geographical region. This is the region, okay, and then your availability zone is going to be also a geographical separation, okay, and these availability zones are far apart from each other so that no two availability zones will have a disaster at the same time. And the communication across the availability zones, the communication across the availability zones happens through the high speed private links. Okay, you have high speed private links. Okay, and when it goes into another region, let's say there is a region Sydney as well. Okay, when the communication goes into another region, then the communication happens through the AWS global backbone network. Okay, so when it happens, when the communication is across availability zones, it is through the high speed private links, or you can call them low latency links as well. And then when it goes into another region, it happens through the AWS global backbone network. And even in terms of replication, okay, generally we want to replicate our data just to ensure disaster recovery is in place. In such a scenario, within the region across multiple availability zones, it is going to be a synchronous replication. And across different regions, it is going to be an asynchronous replication. Okay, this is about the regions availability zones. Now, your data centers are the real-time physical entities. Okay, so your region is a geographical location, AZ, that's your availability zone, is again going to be a geographical separation between different locations. Data centers. Okay, so 2 or more AZs together constitutes a region, and 3 or more data centers together constitute a availability zone. Now, these are physical data centers. Okay, these are the physical data centers. These are physical data centers with lots of hypervisors. Okay, so these are the physical data centers. So in every AZ, you will have multiple data centers. Okay, so this is about the global infrastructure of AWS. So where is the physical resource coming in? These are the physical data centers that is managing all the virtual resources that you and I and all the organizations in the world are hosting in the cloud computing platform. Okay, so all those resources are getting managed by these physical data centers, which is spread across the globe in 25 different regions and 81 availability zones. Okay, so this is the global infrastructure of AWS. So here in this map, we can see that Canada Central is a region and it has 3 availability zones. And here, this is AWS Government Cloud, which has 3 availability zones. London has 3 availability zones. We have one in Mumbai. The Mumbai region has 3 availability zones as well. We have one region that is yet to be launched. Okay, this is coming soon. So this is going to be in Hyderabad. Okay, we have one new region coming up in Hyderabad, and there's one which is coming up in Israel as well. There's one coming up in Jakarta and also in Melbourne. So these are Hong Kong. It has 3 availability zones. One in Sydney already has 3 availability zones. Okay, Tokyo has 4 availability zones and so on. Cape Town, it has 3 availability zones. So this is the best place that you can refer to get the most updated details regarding the global infrastructure of AWS. Okay. So yes, I have already shown you the most updated number of region. Okay, we have 25 and 81 availability zones. So a region is a geographical area, and each region contains 2 or more availability zone. And an availability zone is going to be a collection of data centers. And both AZs, multiple AZs, they're going to be placed far apart from each other just to ensure that no 2 AZ will have a disaster at the same time. Okay, yes. Now coming into your free tier account. Okay, so I've shown you how you can create your free tier account. Make sure you create your free tier account when you come in for your session tomorrow, because tomorrow we would be working with hands-on. Okay, so I would be taking you through different services, and then we need to deploy our application on Elastic Beanstalk as well. So make sure you have your AWS free tier account. And the free tier account, it gives us a 12-month free tier access to all the resources on AWS. And these free tier offers are only available to new AWS customers and are available for 12 months following your AWS sign up date. And when your 12-month free usage term expires, or if your application usage exceeds the tiers, you simply pay standard pay-as-you-go service rates. So basically, I will tell you in this session how you can manage your resources. And when you are creating a resource, make sure you are deleting the resource before you close the console, because we have 750 hours of EC2 usage. EC2 is basically a server. We would definitely be working with a server. So probably when you are creating a server, the moment you close your, the moment before you close your AWS management console, you are supposed to terminate the resource so that you don't get charged for your resource. So don't be worried about getting charged. Okay, so make sure you create your free tier account. Your account will be debited with rupees 2, and definitely not anything more than that. Okay, and then you, in case by mistake, if you have had a billing, then you can always get in touch with the customer support to help you out in this manner. Okay, but then your account will not be debited automatically for the resource usage. Okay, yes. AWS Consultor is something that I've already shown you. So this is the AWS Management Console, and these are the different regions. We have resources that are regional, and we have resources that are global. Okay, so EC2 in that instance is basically a regional resource. Okay, and then we have S3, which is going to be a global resource. We would be discussing about both these services. Okay, so these are the different regions, and each of these regions has a particular set of availability zones, and you are going to be launching your resources in these regions in particular availability zones. Okay, and these are the different services and different service categories, and you can basically AWS provides you with a wide variety of services across different categories. Okay, so we have the compute services like EC2, Lambda, Elastic Beanstalk, Elastic Load Balancer, auto scaling. We have the storage services like S3, Elastic Block Storage. So S3 is basically an object level storage. We have Elastic Block Store, which is a block level storage service in the AWS cloud. Glacier, which is a long-term archival storage. We have Snowball, which is basically used for migration service. Okay, and then storage gateway, when you want to access the data that you have stored in the AWS cloud, you can always prefer to use a storage gateway. And these are the different database services that are offered on AWS. If you're looking for an SQL based option, then you can use RDS, which is a relational database service. And we have Aurora, which is a database engine that is provided and managed by AWS itself. Okay, and then we have a NoSQL option, which is DynamoDB. And in case you want to have a fast in-memory caching service for your database needs, and then you can go in for using Elasticache. And Redshift is a data warehousing option on AWS. And when you want to ensure security for your infrastructure and your resources on AWS cloud, then you can go in for using the identity and access management, where you will be able to create users, groups, group policies, user policies, and you can also implement multiple layers of security using permissions and policies when you're using the identity and access management service. And you can always use the key management service to manage your public and private keys. Next, we have the networking service, where we have the VPC, which is a virtual private cloud, where we would be able to have or create a completely isolated network space using VPCs. And Direct Connect is a service which helps us to provide a connectivity in case of a hybrid infrastructure. And then Route 53, it's basically providing us with the DNS service, the domain naming service, okay, where it is going to be helping us with mapping the IP addresses with the human readable domain names and vice versa. Then we have the application services like SNS, SQS, SES. So these are namely simple notification service, where you can use it for raising and managing notifications. Simple queuing service, which you can use it as a simple buffer, and simple email service, where you would be able to send bulk emails. Then we have the management services that is used for managing all the resources on your AWS platform. CloudWatch is a fully fledged monitoring service. CloudFormation is a fully managed templating service. And CLI, which is a command line interface, where this particular service can be used to create or implement any task that you would be able to do using an AWS management console. like creating an instance or managing an instance state. All these things you would be able to do that using a command line interface as well. Then we have the trusted advisor, using which you will be able to get support for your consultation needs, okay, regarding your platform requirements and how you can use a benefit from the AWS platform, or which would be the best choice for your use case. You can always get it from the trusted advisor service. So that's about the different domains. Now let's move into AWS identity and access management. So AWS Identity and Access Management basically integrates with other AWS services. Okay, and it provides you with a federated identity management. Using AWS Identity and Access Management, you will be able to ensure secure access for your applications. And also, you will be able to set granular access permissions. Identity and access management users are users within your account, and each user will be having their own credentials using which they will be able to log into the AWS account. And IAM users are authorized to perform specific AWS actions based on the permissions that are assigned to them. And by default, there will not be any permission assigned to a particular user. And access to the AWS Management Console or the CLI must be explicitly granted. So here I would be showing you how we can create a user and then how we can attach a policy to a user. And then IAM groups. So IAM group is basically a collection of IAM users, and groups lets you specify permissions for multiple users, which can make it easier to manage the permissions for those users. And a group can contain many users, and a user can belong to multiple groups. But then on the AWS platform, group nesting is not supported. That means group within a group, that is not supported. But then a single user can be part of multiple groups, that is supported. Okay. So yes, let's understand how we can create and manage users. And this is going to be an assignment that you will have to submit. Okay, so we are working on the service called Identity and Access Management. Just give me a minute, guys. I have lost access to the chat. Let me quickly try to reconnect. Guys, I don't have access to your chat. Okay, I'm just checking if there's any message left to catch up. Abhishek has asked a question. Data replication is like data recovery. Replication is for disaster recovery, basically. You will be replicating your data so that in case of a disaster, you will be able to recover your data. Exactly. We would be continuing till 9:30, guys. When will you give the assignment? Yes, now we're going to be working with the assignment. Okay. Yes, so now we are going to be working on the assignment where we are going to be working with creating an IAM user. And tomorrow we would be working with S3, EC2, as well as Elastic Beanstalk. All of them will be assignments. Okay. So today we had a lot of foundation to be discussed, and that's the reason we would be working just on IAM today. And tomorrow we'll be working on EC2, S3, as well as Elastic Beanstalk, and a lot of associated services. So this is basically my identity and access management dashboard. I have many users here. Okay, I have many user groups here. Okay, so these are the user groups like developing on AWS, Let's Upgrade team. So all these are the different groups that are associated with this account. And then I have all these users here. Okay, and each of them have been assigned to different groups, and we have different group policies and user policies as well. So now I'm going to be showing you how you can create a new identity and access management user. Click on add users. Click on add users. Now enter the username. Okay, let's say I'm adding it as, okay, let's say I'm adding a user called Adeline Krista. Okay, so here, let's say, if you remember, even whether this particular user can access the AWS resources through a programmatic access or an AWS management console access has to be explicitly granted at the time of creating this user. So now, let's say I want this user to have both programmatic access as well as AWS management console access. So I give both the access permissions. Next, go into permissions. So here I can add the user to the group at this stage, or I can copy the permissions from the existing user, and then I can attach the existing policies directly. So I'm going to be using the third option where I'm attaching the existing policies directly. So these are the AWS managed policies that are readily available. Okay, all of them are AWS managed policies. You have a lot of them. Okay, so if you want to filter out the one that is specific for your need, then you can always search like you want to have S3. So the permissions, the AWS managed policies specific to S3 are listed here. We have S3 full access. Let's say I'm going to be giving this particular user S3 full access. Okay, I'm selecting this permission which says S3 full access. Okay, so this particular permission will be assigned to this user called Adeline Rista. Next, go ahead and add tags. So tags are basically going to be metadata about this particular resource. Okay, I'm not adding any tags, but then they are optional. Review, and here you can see that, okay, maybe if you have to log in as a user, then we have to give a password, but then I have not mentioned the password. So I'm going to be giving a custom password. Okay, so let's say I'm using it as admin. Okay, so you give a custom password, go ahead with the permissions. And then if you see, there is one tab which says the user must create a new password at next sign in. When this is enabled, it is going to be prompting the user to change the password when the user logs in the first time. Okay, so let's have it enabled and see how it works. Next, permissions. Tags, we have already added a policy which is S3 full access. Go into your review screen, and if you see, this is the username, programmatic access, and the AWS management console access has been given. Custom password, we have given a password, and then it requires a password reset when the user logs in for the first time. And we've not set the permissions boundary. And then these are basically the managed policy that is assigned or added to this particular user. Create user. So this is the last time when you can have access to this access key ID and the secret access key. You can download the CSV file, and it is going to be having all the information with regards to this user. Okay, and if you lose your access key ID and your secret access key, then your administrator will have to create a new one for you. Okay, so that's about your access key ID and secret access key. So you have downloaded the CSV file, and we would be able to log in as an identity and access management user. Okay, so here we can log out, and before that we need the resource ARN. ARN is nothing but the Amazon resource name. Adeline Krista is the one that I created now. So here, this is the ARN. ARN is nothing but the Amazon resource name. Copy the ARN, and I'm going to be using this for logging into the account as an identity and access management user. So this is basically the 12-digit account ID. Okay, now it is prompting me to change the password. If you remember, we have enabled requiring password reset. Okay, so old password, now it's the new password. And confirm password change. Okay, now I am logged in as the user. Can you see this? Earlier it was my name, now it is Adeline Krista, an identity and access management user, IAM user, Adeline Krista. Okay, so now we are logged in as a user. We know that the users, the IAM users, can perform operations only based on the permissions that are assigned to them. And what was the policy or permission that we have given for this user? It is S3 full access. So now let's try to access this S3 service. S3 is the simple storage service. Okay, so this is the S3 dashboard. Okay, and I'm able to see all the buckets that are inside this region, inside this account basically. Okay, these are all the buckets that I have created earlier. So all the buckets are visible. And I can even create a new bucket because this user has been given S3 full access. So if I have access to the console, definitely I can create a bucket. Now, we have given just S3 full access for this user. Let's try to access EC2 for this user. Let's check what's happening in case of if this user is trying to access the EC2 instance. Can you see this? You are not authorized to perform this operation. Okay, very simple. So you have given S3 full access and you will not be authorized to perform any operation other than the permission that you are assigned with. Clear? Let's try to check identity and access management, whether this user will be able to create IAM users. Can you see this? You don't have the permission that is required to perform this operation. So you ask your administrator to add the permissions. Very simple, right? So what should you be submitting for your assignment? AWS Essentials. Okay, so here, identity and access management. Create a user. assign permissions for the user. Login as the user and test accessing different services. Now, how are you going to submit this assignment? You will have to create your free tier AWS account. You will have to implement this task, and at every stage, you will take a screenshot, okay? And then you will put it into a Word file, or it could be a PDF document, and then you will be provided with a link where you can submit your assignment. So submit your PDF file or your Word document into the link that is provided. Okay, so here for this particular activity, you will have to provide the root account dashboard where you can see the users. If you click on this, this is basically your identity and access management. If you are logged in as the root user, once you click on users, you can see the user that you have created. So take a screenshot of this page and add it into your file. Okay, then what you have to do is log in as this particular user. Okay, and then probably you need to show what is the permission that you have given for this user. Okay, so in this case I have given S3 full access, so make sure you have a screenshot which says S3 full access is reflecting, and also try to access another application and show that you don't need a you don't have the permission to access this particular service. So take all the screenshots, put the screenshots into a Word document or a PDF file, and submit in the link that is provided to you for the assignment submission. Made clear, guys? Okay, this is the one for this session. Okay, so I will be sharing this in the community. And last date for submitting is for September. Tomorrow, what time the session will start? So today we started at 7:30, right? Yes, same, 7:30, 9:30, guys. I'm checking the chat box. If you have any questions, please do let me know. Okay, Abhishek has asked a question. MFA is necessary for AWS. Not, you could not say it like whether it is mandatory or not, but then it is going to be providing you with an additional layer of security. In what is this MFA is multi-factor authentication. Okay, MFA is a multi-factor authentication where you would be able to add another layer of security to access your AWS resources. Okay, so the first level of authentication will be using your username and password. The second level of authentication will be using the multi-factor authentication code, that is the MFA code. Okay. IAM user, okay, Abhishek says every IAM user can have different roles. Okay, they need not have they need not necessarily have the same role, but then they can have the different roles. The users in IAM groups have different policies among them, obviously. Okay, if you have 10 different members, if you have 10 members inside a group, then member A can have 4 permissions, member B can have just 2 permissions. Okay, so it is going to be like that. You would be able to set granular permission, but then when they belong to a group, any permission that is applicable on the group will also be applicable on the individual user. Do you have to fill up the form again? Guys, again, I'm repeating, make sure you fill up your attendance form, and make sure you submit your assignments as well. Okay, so that is going to be making you eligible for your certification. Okay, so we are providing you two certificates. One will be certification of completion, and then the certificate of participation. Certificate of participation will be provided if you have signed up your attendance for today and tomorrow, and certificate of completion will be provided if you have submitted your assignments. And the attendance links, the form link has been provided in the chat box. Make sure you fill up the attendance forms for both the days. I have no debit card. Shivant, you definitely need a credit or a debit card. Um, uh, if you have to, create your free tier account. Nothing is possible without a credit or a debit card. Your account will be debited with just rupees 2. Okay, so make sure you have your credit or debit card. What is lambda function? Sulim, basically lambda function, we would be discussing about lambda function, I think, in tomorrow's session, but then lambda is a serverless compute space. Okay, now we'll be discussing about EC2 as well. EC2 is basically a server, okay, a virtual server on the AWS cloud. There, when you are using EC2, you will be paying for the server as such. Okay, whereas when you are using lambda, you will be paying per invocation. So lambda is a serverless compute space, and the serverless is taking up in a lightning fast. Okay, so it is going to be giving you a very high cost optimization for your services and resources. So serverless is a very important topic of discussion, and it is going to be completely, the charging will be based completely on invocations. Okay, we do have certain specific features about lambda, but then we'll definitely discuss about lambda in depth in another session, guys. Yes, then where can you submit the assignment? I think the submission link will be provided to you in the community, so make sure to check in the community for the assignment submission link. Okay, and what is the assignment topic, guys? This is the assignment topic: creating an IAM user and then assigning a permission for the identity and access management user. And you will have to log in as an IAM user and then show that this particular permission that you have specified for this user is reflecting in your account. Okay, make sure you take a screenshot of every single activity that you are doing, and then you are supposed to put the screenshots into a PDF file and then submit it into the link that is provided. Okay, anything else, guys? By when? I think 1st September is the last date for submitting your assignment, so make sure you submit it by then. Only weekend class? Yes, this batch, this AWS Essentials batch, we have launched it on the weekend. So today we have covered for 2 hours, and tomorrow we'll be covering for another 2 hours. This is going to be our AWS Essentials program. Okay, guys? Okay, so that's it from my end, guys. So yes, thank you everyone. And I request you all to attend tomorrow's session as well, so that you can get eligible for your certificate of completion and participation as well. Thank you, guys. Hope you all had a great session. See you all tomorrow.